Hey everyone, Jamie Overholt, Senior Leader of Atwell Revival Center in North Canton, Ohio, and here we are again talking about discovering your call, discovering your giftings, and how we get there. It is a process of discovery. You know, discovery is the word because there is some discovery in it, and even if we know have a general sense of what we're called to. Unfortunately, it doesn't just always drop in our lap. Now, some people are maybe more fortunate or something than others, and it does just seem to drop in their lap. But the majority of us, we go through this process of really seeking to find how to bring to fullness, how to fulfill what God has spoken over our life. And like I've said before, hopefully you've seen some things in your life that that really that really seem to point to this is where I'm going. This is what God said, and so we have to have what are your passions? What turns you on? What turns your lights on? What makes you tick? What gets you going? That's a real indicator of our calling right there. Because sometimes we're looking. I know there was a season in my life, I'll just say, where I thought if it was God, it had to be some hard, laborious, sacrificial thing, but that's such a crock. I'm not saying there's not sacrifice. I'm not saying that there's not labor. I'm not saying that there's not some straining involved in moving towards your calling, because there certainly is. But on the other hand, he said, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. So if God's on it, there should be a sense of rest in it all. There should be a sense of lightness, of ease in it. And that means that it should be something, he didn't just give you desire to go unfulfilled. He gave you desire because it's an indicator of what you are called to. It's an indicator of what you are, what your giftings are. And so, do you love children? Do you love families? Do you love people out on the street, the homeless? Do you love, sports even? There could be all kinds of avenues that God can use you through, that God can call you to, and it doesn't have to look like ministry. It's just, go towards the things that you're passionate about, and in the midst of that, God will use you. And if God says to really specifically to do something, and it's not exactly like, you don't get all real excited about it, well, do it anyway if God's really spoke it to you. But as a whole, the callings on our life, the purposes on our life, the giftings and things like that, they're going to be things that may become natural, or at least that we have a certain degree of passion about already. It's hard to do something that you have no heart for. Um, and I was just talking about calling to one of the intercessors in my life, and we were kind of going through this whole prayer and process of in concern to my calling and things like that. And it was just a really great day. And then I go to the mailbox. I wish I had that paper in front of me. It's probably inside, but I go to the mailbox, and the only piece of mail in the mail, the headline says "A Natural Calling," and that's it. Your calling is going to be somewhat natural. Just like David was a shepherd. I'm assuming that there was and he was kind of a psalmist out there. I'm assuming that both of those things, to some degrees, he liked, he enjoyed, and then it was a reflection of what he would do on a higher level, on a grander scale per se. But the same element was there all along, and so a natural calling, and so what comes natural to you, because God uses the natural in a supernatural way. We see that all throughout the Bible, that he made the natural supernatural. He made fishermen in the natural be fishermen in the supernatural, and things like that. And so a natural calling, what are the things that move you? What are the things that drive you in the natural? What are the things that are passionate about? Maybe you have a real justice for certain things. Well, that's probably an indicator of the things that you are called to bring justice to for the kingdom purposes. And I want to read a scripture. It's from Matthew 6, 19. I'm going to kind of just highlight. It says, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth." Verse 20, "But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven." I'm not reading the whole thing, as you might know. Verse 21, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." And the point of me saying that is, your heart, your drive, your motivator, is wherever your treasure is, where your calling is, where your, your calling is. When we pursue our calling, when we go after our gifting, it is storing up things in heaven, because it's a heavenly calling, it's a heavenly gifting. And so wherever that treasure is, wherever that call is, wherever that purpose is, wherever those desires are, that's where your heart's going to be anyway. So don't try to run after something in the name of God, in the name of sacrifice, in the name of obedience. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that God doesn't call us sometimes to do things that aren't exactly what we're passionate about. That might be just him testing our obedience, or might be him getting us to the place of our calling. But I am saying, that where your treasure is, there your heart's going to be, there your motivation's going to be, there your passion's going to be, there your drive's going to be. And so, we want to find our treasure. We want to find our calling. We want to go through this process of self-discovery, and maybe even get before God and say, you know what, or just contemplate, like, what am I passionate about? What does make me tick? What does make me click? What turns me on in a second? Just like right now, doing these teachings and preaching right now, this turns me on. I'm a pretty mellow person. I'm in the natural, I'm a kind of a melancholy, but I come alive when I do this. And so what makes you come alive? Because that's an indicator of where your treasure is. Where your treasure is, there your heart's going to be also. There's the place that you're going to come alive, and he wants you to come alive. He doesn't want you to be dead and steeped in religion and steeped in rules and regulations and steeped in having to do. No, he gave you tasks to do that are going to make you come alive, because when you're alive, he's alive, right? When you're dead, he's dead. He can only function as we're functioning. And so the things that make us motivated to function are the things that he put in us to do. So don't overcomplicate it. Where your treasure is, there your heart is, there your drive is, there your motivation is, there's your love, there's your, when we love something, there's a driving force there to do it. And so I hope that blesses you, and keep in touch. We're going to keep going after this thing of discovering your calling, discovering your giftings. All right.